Throughout the Pokemon series, we've seen a multitude of different teams whose schemes range from the goofy to the point of not being a threat, to the downright evil. These teams have huge differences that vary from region to region in their names, costumes, and even in their goals and ideologies. To really understand just how different each team is, though, let's take a closer look into what went into these teams and how they've changed as we progressed from generation to generation of Pokemon. Team Rocket is the iconic evil team that exists in the Pokemon universe. Whether you know them from Jesse, James, and Meowth's appearance in the anime, or you are familiar with the Pokemon video games, Team Rocket is probably the first name that springs to mind when you think bad guys from Pokemon. While this team is the most well-known set of bad guys, their ideology is definitely the most basic. The main goal of Team Rocket is to steal and capture rare or strong Pokemon they will then sell or exploit to make money. In fact, there is even a copy of the Team Rocket's motto on the wall in their headquarters of the Johto region that reads, "Steal Pokemon for profit, exploit Pokemon for profit. All Pokemon exist for the glory of Team Rocket." In Generations 1 and 2 of the video games, this goal is all too clear, with the player being explicitly told that Team Rocket has been stealing Pokemon, and the fact that Team Rocket's leader Giovanni had wanted the Master Ball from the Sylph Company to capture any strong Pokemon shows that this team is focused more on immediate riches and power rather than any greater purpose. Speaking of Giovanni, the leader of Team Rocket and simultaneously the Viridian Gym leader in the first generation games, he doesn't seem to pose any immediate threat to the player, but that's not to say the same about how he treats his Pokemon. Using the Fame Checker in Fire Red and Leaf Green, you can find that Giovanni's entry from the Rocket HQ says, "Team Rocket capture Pokemon from around the world. They're important tools for keeping our criminal enterprise going." And upon using it on a scientist in the Sylph Company, Team Rocket's boss is terribly cruel. To him, Pokemon are just tools to be used, implying that Giovanni isn't exactly a noble and kind trainer. But what else do you expect from the leader of an evil organization? Team Aqua and Team Magma have been fan favorites of the Pokemon series for years, but it definitely isn't for their idea of what an evil plan should look like. Team Aqua and Team Magma are water and fire types respectively, and that definitely reflects in their decisions to make each of their own ideal worlds. Team Aqua seeks to flood the world, where in Pokemon Sapphire, the original game in which they appeared, they thought would make the world more ideal for cohabitation for both Pokemon and humans. In the later release of Alpha Sapphire, however, their motives changed to be significantly darker, seeking to flood the world to wipe out human civilization and provide a clean slate for Pokemon to exist in without human interference. Team Aqua's leader Archie is either an incredible help or a supervillain to the highest degree, depending on which game you are playing. In Ruby, Archie acts as an ally, helping to prevent Team Magma's leader from carrying out his grand scheme. But in Sapphire and Alpha Sapphire, Archie is the one who pushes his team to awaken a legendary Pokemon he can't control, and nearly causes all of humanity to be wiped out, intentional or otherwise. Team Magma, as the antithesis to Team Aqua, seeks to expand the world's landmass rather than its oceans. In Ruby, their goal in doing this is to destroy all water types? Then in Omega Ruby, this belief is expanded to show that Team Magma wanted to expand the world's landmass to create more space for human civilization to grow and thrive, but instead nearly scorches the globe to the point of being uninhabitable in the process. Team Magma's leader Maxie functions much in the same way Archie does in Sapphire and Alpha Sapphire, either being a useful ally or a fearsome opponent. Even moving from Generations 1 and 2 into Gen 3, we can see a shift in the scale of these bad guys' nasty plots. Where Team Rocket was focusing more on personal profit and keeping their illegal scheme going, Team Aqua and Team Magma took their problems to a global scale, nearly resulting in the end of the world. You can't fully blame the Gen 3 teams because, they were doing what they thought was best for the world, but they almost got everyone killed in the process because they took everything to the most extreme ends they possibly could. Oh boy, Generation 4 is where things start to get really spicy. The evil team that exists in Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum is called Team Galactic, and if you thought Team Aqua and Team Magma had extreme ideals, you're about to get hit with the ideological equivalent of a brick. Team Galactic's leader Cyrus doesn't have high hopes for the world as we know it, and his ideas are essentially Giovanni's on steroids. In Mount Coronet, Cyrus says, "Because the human spirit is weak and incomplete, strife has appeared. This world is being ruined by it." And naturally, his solution is to completely collapse the universe and recreate it with his own ideas in mind, using the powers of either Dialga, Palkia, or both depending on which game you play. Cyrus captures Pokemon and creates an item called the Red Chain to tether the legendary Pokemon in our world and attempt to use their powers to recreate everything. Much like Giovanni, he just seeks to exploit their powers. But in a quote from Cyrus at the Galactic HQ, he says, Unlike other Team Galactic members, I don't use Pokemon as tools. Instead, I make the power of Pokemon my own. The belief that a world Cyrus creates with his own ideals points to some serious narcissism, but it may also point to the fact that he's attempting to save the world from whatever level of suffering he believes it is experiencing, and that shows that his heart is in the right place, I guess. I mean, every other quote from him is about how he feels no pity and has no compassion, but at least he cares about the world as a whole. Generation 5's evil team, called Team Plasma, is where things either ramp up or become way more tame depending on what part of the team you're looking at. On the one hand, their team members seem to have good intentions with their beliefs that they should liberate Pokemon from servitude, even if they sometimes resort to theft in order to accomplish that goal. But their leader is the most self-serving, deliberately evil character in the series so far. Generation 5's antagonist rival is a dude with green hair who goes by the name N, and who can speak with Pokemon due to being raised in the woods by Pokemon. He was found there as a child by a man named Getsis, who claimed to be his father. Getsis raised N and taught him that humans were constantly harming Pokemon, leading to him manipulating N and grooming him to be exploited into becoming the king of Team Plasma under the false pretense that they could create separate worlds for humans and Pokemon and end the harm humans cause to them. N was raised to believe that in order to free the Pokemon he loved so dearly, he needed to become powerful and set them free with a show of force. So he went on and even defeated the Pokemon League champion. After the player defeats N in battle, however, Getsis loses it and reveals that he has been using N the whole time to become powerful enough to force everyone else to release their Pokemon using either Reshiram or Zekrom, leaving him as the only trainer so he could use their power to rule the Unova region. While this may be on the smaller scale than the previous two generations, Getsis manipulated an orphan into helping him take over the Unova region as the only one with Pokemon, and when his plan failed, he lashed out at the boy who saw him as a father. Now, this is the first time since Team Rocket that the villain of the story's plan included strictly personal gain, and he went to some heinous ends to accomplish that goal. Sure, he didn't try to recreate the universe or whatever, but Getsis used a boy's love of Pokemon against him to try to further his own desires, and this is definitely the most dramatic storyline we've seen in a Pokemon game yet. The Kalos region's Team Flare from Gen 6 returns to plans more on the scale of Generation 3 and 4, with their idea to use the ultimate weapon created by AZ to eliminate all life apart from themselves to reduce the burden on the world's resources. The ultimate weapon was created thousands of years prior to the events of Pokemon X and Y, and was originally a machine intended to revive the character AZ's Floette using the energy of other Pokemon, which it did. Rather than stopping here though, AZ modified the device that had restored his Floette's life to instead become a weapon of immense power that he used to end the war Floette had died in at the cost of many lives. Rather than stealing Pokemon, Team Flare steals Pokeballs and uses the life forces of Pokemon as living batteries to try and use the destructive force of the ultimate weapon to see their plan to the end. It is stated by an NPC in Snowbell City, however, who apparently knew Lysander, the leader of Team Flare, prior to his Team Flare affiliation, that Lysander had noble intentions and did his best to help people in need, but was eventually convinced of humanity's stupidity, along with his own limitations, which resulted in him becoming a misanthrope. It seems as though Lysander had initially wanted to help humanity improve the world, before giving up and wanting to start from scratch, in much the way that Team Galactic's leader Cyrus had in Generation 4, albeit without restarting the entire universe. The Alola region's Team Skull are possibly the least organized evil organization, acting more as a roving gang rather than an actual team. Without some greater agenda, Team Skull is just a group of individuals who failed the island challenge and sought to support themselves in other ways. They're consistently causing trouble for the player and stealing Pokemon, but they don't serve a huge threat to the region as a whole. The team leader's Guzma is relatively harmless, apart from his stealing of every piece of Boginium Z on the island to prevent others from using it. And this changes, however, once the president of the Aether Foundation, Lusamine, began to fund the activities of Team Skull. Her obsession with Ultra Beasts and their connection to the Cosmog, or Nebi, that Lily has, leads Lusamine to hire Team Skull to distract the player and How in order to steal Cosmog so its power can be harnessed to open Ultra Wormholes. Once the Cosmog is stolen and the Ultra Wormhole is opened, Guzma and Lusamine jump into the portal, and Guzma is mind-controlled by a Nihilego, while Lusamine somehow fuses with one to become a tentacle monster. Guzma breaks free from the control and tells the player when they follow through the wormhole that Lusamine is too far gone to be saved. Upon stopping Lusamine and returning from inside the Ultra Wormhole, Guzma disbands Team Skull and stays with his parents, seeking forgiveness for his wrongdoings and trying to return to a normal life as much as possible. In Generation 7, it seems we've returned to a more Team Rocket-esque organization, with the group being more of a nuisance with the threat of your Pokemon being stolen, rather than a group with the potential for catastrophic issues. They only really become a problem when they are manipulated by someone with more deep-seated problems, and other than that, they're seen as more of an annoyance by the island inhabitants. Team Yell hardly has the right to be called an evil team, but I figured I would include them anyway. This group is just a bunch of people who simp for Marnie and want her to become the Pokemon League champion at any cost, even if it means they have to sabotage the other competitors to do it. Compared to Team Skull, who steal Pokemon, Team Yell can literally be ignored if you're not a gym challenger, and they're only ever seen hovering around Marnie to the point where even she's uncomfortable with it. And of course, this wouldn't be an evil organization video without an honorable mention to Team Rainbow Rocket. Controlled by a version of Giovanni that has learned how to control Ultra Wormholes, the Generation 7 Team Rainbow Rocket gathers all the leaders of all the other evil organizations from universes in which their plan succeeded, and each of them has control over their legendary Pokemon of choice. Giovanni's plan is to use all of these successful team leaders to create an army of Ultra Beasts to conquer all possible worlds, making this one of the scariest plots we see if it were to succeed, surpassing even Cyrus's idea he could destroy and rule over the current universe he existed in. So, as we can see, the scale of the ultimate plans goes up until it peaks with Cyrus in Gen 4 wanting to recreate the universe, while how actively evil the leaders are peaks in Gen 5. Then there's a distinct drop after each of these points, with Generation 7 having an outsider be the primary antagonist rather than having the antagonist be the leader of the evil organization followed in the story. I'm not quite sure why Pokemon wanted to do this, but it may be that they thought around Generation 4 and 5 the stories just got too heavy for people to handle, and decided to slowly scale it down after that, culminating in Team Yell hardly being able to be recognized as antagonists in the Galar region at all. Whether this is the right decision or not, I can't really decide, as Generation 5 with Team Plasma and Ghetsis is widely regarded as the Pokemon game with the best story. Either way, we can see the rise and fall of scale and intensity of the evil teams throughout the main series Pokemon games from the original release in 1996 to today. And personally, I'm very interested in seeing where they will try to take it from here. Will we see another surge in evil like we did at the beginning of the series? Or will it become the standard to have more annoying organizations like Team Yell around? Only time will tell, but feel free to let me know which team is your favorite, which ones you think are the most evil, or which ones are the most powerful in the comments. But for now, I will catch you later.